Listen, real quick, while I got a second, I want to give y'all some alternatives to credit repair. And this comes from a person who owns a credit restoration company. So I'm not incentivized by telling you how to, fix your credit yourself without hiring a professional in this video. But I'm going to give you some things that are applicable for those who actually apply. Now, I do offer a DIY system that allows you to do it yourself, but that's not what this video is about. I just want you to understand some alternatives and what you must understand in terms of restoring your credit if you want to do it yourself without hiring a professional. First thing first, you have to understand all 5 factors as it relates to your credit score. See, it's one thing for you to try to build credit, but if you just lean on your own understanding in terms of building credit, then you're going to do yourself a disservice. Why? Because most people think, I just need to get these items deleted without understanding a holistic approach to better your score. How do you have a quality profile overall? How do you have a good score overall? Well, that all boils down to you understanding the 5 factors that go into credit, and these gives you some alternatives on credit repair. Now, I have to put this disclaimer out there, and I have to shake it up real quick. I have to put this disclaimer out there. Not all advice and recommendations is for everyone. See, so many times I see people giving tips and advice and guidance on what a person can do to better their credit. Not that the information is invalid, it just might not be valid for you at the moment or for the individual who applied it. And then they look up and say, it didn't work for me, or it did this, or it messed me up, because that wasn't the information that was necessary for you to apply. It's a good strategy, possibly, depending on who it is, who it came from, but it might not be applicable to you. However, when you take a step back and you get an understanding of the 5 factors, now you position yourself to know, okay, this apply to me, this don't, this apply to me. And once you can filter and know what applies to you and what doesn't, now you know what you need to do and you know whether some information is beneficial or detrimental. So first thing first, the 5 factors. Factor number 1, in terms of you understanding how to do some alternative routes to credit repair: payment history. So with payment history, that's your ability to make payments on time, over time, and hopefully it's all the time. That's 35% of your score. That's 192.5 points that come directly from payment history alone. Now, what is your role in payment history? What is it that you can do yourself to increase in that area? Well, you guessed it. Number 1, pay things on time. So when you pay your bills on time, using that knowledge to your advantage, going forward, you're positioning your credit to be good in the 35 percentile of your credit score by having on-time payments. Now, the most recent 2 years in that are going to be the most important. So if you're on track to making on-time payments without fail, then you might have to take a step back and look and see, okay, what late payments did I have previously? Because you want to be doing both. You want to be building good payment history, but if you did have some late payments, if you can go about cleaning those up, I highly recommend it. That's why our DIY system comes into play. So if you want to invest and get our DIY system, our system gives you all the letters you need, tutorials you need, but I give you some things that can benefit you. The Goodwill letter. You can Google it, look it up. I like the letter that we have, the pre-written letter that we have, better than anything that I find online. However, people have gotten results with some, random letters. I'm sure. I'm assuming. I don't know per se, but I'm sure somebody has gotten results with some of the random letters that they might Google. But a Goodwill letter is a letter that's basically asking the creditor, whoever you had a late payment with, to say, hey, let's remove this and update it to positive based on their request. It might be a sob story, it might be something, hard time, health related, that made you end up making a late payment. And now as a result, they look at it, they honor it, and say, you know what, let's go ahead and remove the late payment and update them back to positive. So a Goodwill letter can be helpful in there. These are for open accounts. Let me preface it. These are for open accounts. Very important to note, because if it was a collection or something tied into a collection or a charge out, then you handle it different. With that, the last case scenario is a pay for delete. That's what I, will personally do. Last case, if it's a collection, pay for delete is the last case scenario. Last case. However, in the meantime, in between time, while it's on your credit profile, then you definitely want to send out some letters that can challenge the inaccuracies on them reporting that item, not denying it. It's very important to note. So many people think you got to deny if an item is yours or not. No, this is not how we operate. We want to use the laws to your advantage. So if they have some inaccurate unverifiable, outdated information, then use that to your advantage to get things deleted. So it's a lot of times there are some inaccuracies. You send a letter addressing those inaccuracies, it increases the chances of getting removed. A simple letter is a verification letter. We get people access to that and the follow-up letters inside our DIY system. But that letter basically says, hey, I noticed this on my report. It's kind of hindering my score. Please verify that this item belongs to me. Verify that this item, you have the right to be reporting this on my report. Not denying it, but getting them to verify. Because it's a certain set of rules that they must abide by if they're planning to verify. Very important. Because your second letter really addresses it if they don't handle it accordingly. So it brings me to factor number 2. Well, before I get into factor number 2, the second letter, after you send off a verification letter, has them to prove that that item was actually verified. We call it the method of verification. So what method did they use to verify? Our letter includes so many things that it's next to unlikely or impossible for them to answer all of them questions and check all of them boxes. And that letter is powerful alone. A lot of people send their letter out, deleting student loans, all kind of stuff. The list goes on. No guarantees on what you can do, but this has worked for several people. So sending letters helps with payment history. We're still in factor number 1. And I'll speed up on the other ones, but I just want you to understand that this is something that you can take. May have to rewind and take some notes and then apply it for yourself. Factor number 2 is credit utilization. Now, everybody can benefit from understanding the payment history. Not everybody needs the information I'm about to say in credit utilization. However, if you have a credit card, then you need to understand that it's important for you to keep less than 10% utilization or pay it off in full. Because what that does is not only save you money on interest by having a low balance, little to no balance, but it also makes you look good in the eyes of the creditor, in the eyes of the lender. Basically, it's saying, hey, this person is low risk, they're paying their balances down before the due date, preferably before the statement date. Look that up. That's for you to do. That's your homework. Look up statement date, finding out, what that means to your credit. If you pay by the statement date, not just the due date. That's your homework. And if you haven't heard of that, do your homework, then come back and comment under the video what you discover. Now, you want to make sure that when you are handling credit utilization, when they see that you're keeping that low balance, they're going to position you to actually get an increase in your score. If you do it enough, and depending on who the lender is, a lot of times they'll increase your credit limit just off of that alone after they see a track record of keeping a low balance. But it also helps your score. And that factor is 30% of your score. Credit utilization, dealing with credit cards and lines of credit, that's 30% of your score. That's 165 points. Now, if you already have a credit card and good spending habits, then you can just leverage that and really run up that particular credit card and get higher limits. However, depending on your scenario, it may be okay for you to spin off into other credit cards, especially if you just had a credit card that was just created just for building purposes. Meaning that sometimes people have a credit card and it's not necessarily a quality credit card, it's just a credit card that they could qualify for, and it helps them build their credit. If that's you, then you may want to consider a bigger name company so you can maximize basically the opportunity in terms of credit utilization. Sometimes multiple credit cards helps tremendously depending on your scenario. Now, in addition to that, and this is another thing that might not be applicable to you, if you're new to credit, say you're young, you're under 21, under 20, you can benefit from somebody adding you as an authorized user, and them and their good payment history, emphasis on good payment history, their good credit utilization, emphasis on good credit utilization. They can add you as an authorized user and you benefit off of how well they're able to use their credit cards. Now, that's not applicable to everybody. Not everybody needs to do that. Some people jump out there and just do it anyway. But no, you want to position yourself so that you can one day become the authorized user. That's what I recommend. Position yourself to become the plug so you're not always looking to plug and use somebody else's good credit habits. Not that it's a bad idea, but that is a strategy that you can use, especially if you don't have any good credit history. And I recommend it be somebody that's close, that's family, not paying or buying a trade line. That's not what we do. That's not what I teach. So not that. All right, third factor you need to understand, and hopefully that gave you something that you can do, but the third factor you need to understand is credit history. That's just the age of your credit. So having somebody to add you as an authorized user is going to be great for credit history as well. So if you do not have credit history or much of it, little to nothing, then you want to get with somebody who has a long credit history that they've been using their credit. They got good payment history, good credit utilization, and had them to add you as an authorized user. The reason why I say good credit utilization, and good payment history is because just like you can inherit all of the history that they have and good that they have, you'll also inherit the bad. I did a video previously before where I was talking about how when is it a good time to remove yourself as an authorized user? Because sometimes what happens is a person get added as an authorized user, the person that added them stop performing, stop doing what it is that they were supposed to do in order to keep their balances intact. So it might be good to remove yourself as an authorized user in that case. But in other cases, if you're not in a position to grab somebody as an authorized user, time is going to be your best friend. You just want to make sure you're doing all of the things that you need to do, because over time you'll look up and a year has passed and you're further along than what you were. Over time, 6 months has passed, you're further along than where you were. Two years has passed, you're further along. But you just want to make sure that going forward, you make every month count, every payment count to the best of your ability, so that your credit history grows over time. Factor number 4 is new credit. So you don't want to have a lot of inquiries. That is a representation of new credit, and you can get those removed as well, but you don't want to remove inquiries that are associated with accounts that you actually have on your profile. So if you actually apply for something, the inquiry showed up, and you actually got approved and have an account, why would you delete that inquiry? Doesn't make sense, because you did have to initiate the inquiry in order to get that account. Now some people go in and try to remove it, all of that. I just say if it aligns, let it sit. If it aligns with your credit profile, then go ahead and let the inquiry stay, because it makes sense. You applied for something, it showed up, you got the loan. That's a good balance. However, it's sometimes when you go to a dealership and then you go to the dealership and they run your credit 10 times. Now I know you couldn't got doggone well you didn't get 10 loans in order to get one car. So that being said, you want to aim to try to get those deleted, but don't do a whole lot of inquiries. It messes with your profile overall, because they see all these inquiries. They're like, this person is trying to apply for anybody who will give them money, and they give you some data points based on that. Now, in addition to that part of new credit, you also want to understand, like I said, the most recent 2 years is the most important. And sometimes if you haven't had anything new to show up on your profile, it makes sense to get something new. A lot of people take that advice and run with it. They're like, I just need to get a new account, new self-lender, new credit builder loan, apply for something. No, that's not always everybody's case. Some people need new credit. And as a result of them needing new credit, then there are avenues that they can take that can position them to get the new credit that they need so they can get a score boost. Quick story. I had a client and he had nothing but negatives on his report. Everything was red. Everything. I gave a recommendation on what he needed to do to build his credit, which was start some new credit. And then I also sent out some letters on his behalf where we got collection deleted. And he took my recommendation on credit building and started a new account that was reporting the way it needed to report to all 3 bureaus. As a result, within 30 days, his score was up 201 points. Off of one recommendation of getting and establishing a new credit, new line of credit, a new trade line, with not buying a trade line, but a new trade line, and me sending off letters. So a combination of those two things boosted his score 201 points. Now 203. I'm remembering the banner. 203 points in 30 days. So the information I'm giving you, take it, run with it. If you need assistance from a done-for-you perspective, I'll send you a link to set up a consultation. But if you want a DIY, then we got that as well. Or if you just want to take this and run it and Google it and, until you find what you need, then that's fine as well. Last but not least is credit mix. Banks and lenders need to know that you have the ability to manage multiple types of debt, multiple types of credit. So whether that's you paying your auto loan, your mortgage, student loans, personal loans, that is installment debt. They like to see that you're able to manage installment loans as well. However, they also want to see that you can handle revolving lines of credit or credit cards, as we already discussed. Because once they see you can do both, now they're like, okay, this person is versatile. This person is capable of playing, to any direction and still come out on top. Once you understand all 5 of those factors, then you will know if some information is applicable to you based on your situation, because you want to look at each 5 factors and say, okay, how's this area looking for me? How's this area looking for me? How's this area looking for me? Once you know what those areas are looking like for you, now you have the ability to say, okay, this is what I need to do, this is who I don't need to listen to, and then you go from there in order to build a quality credit profile. Hopefully that makes sense. Rewind what you need to. I just wanted to give you those nuggets because it's an alternate way for you to restore your own credit without hiring a professional. Is it bad to hire a professional? Absolutely not, because you may need the time more than you want to invest in trying to figure that part out. Is it bad to do a DIY system that comes with everything you need? Absolutely not, because it saves you time and money without the figuring it out. You got a set guide with some support, on an ongoing basis. But whatever you decide to do, whether you take this free information or choose one of the options that I laid out, I look forward to seeing your credit go to the next level. If you got value, let me know. And if you do something that I instructed and you get a great result, come holler at us, drop it in the comments. That's all I got. Mr. Smith signing out. Salute.